All right. You know what it is? You know who it is? I'm back. Today we got Sabrina. She's back again for episode 2. Gonna have some cool conversations today. She just recently, what was it, a couple months ago,
Yep.
finished her Ayurveda certification, which is a pretty cool thing. I kind of want her to dive into and let you guys know about. And then we're just gonna talk fitness, life, business, just go from there. So first off, how have you been through quarantine? And since the last time we talked, how's everything been going?
Yeah. It's so funny because who knew that we were going to be doing a second podcast in quarantine? I mean, if you can say we're still in quarantine, but in lockdown, this is still very prevalent, everything going on. Who knew? And I feel like that's kind of been the story of everyone's life right now is, I think back and I've been having conversations with my coworkers and my friends and even my family. And I've been thinking when I first heard that things were start shutting down. And, I work at a yoga studio. I work at Jai Yoga Studio. When I first heard things were shutting down, I was like, oh, 4 days. We're taking 4 days off. And I remember being so excited for 4 days off. And I was like, I'm going to do so much in these 4 days. I'm going to, really take care of myself. I really needed the 4 days. And then it was a week. And then it was 2 weeks. And everyone listening to this knows how the story goes. It turned into 4 months all of a sudden. And it's unbelievable how much time goes by. And I think that all of us, myself included, I've been through every single season of myself during the past 4 months. It's literally been, I've seen it all. I've seen my best and I've seen my worst, and I've seen my ugliest and I've seen my prettiest. I mean, literally too, like there's been some days where I don't know if I've showered for like 3 days. Like,
It's true.
like,
There's no reason to.
yeah, so it's like I've literally seen every single version of myself, and in the same breath, I think that there's a lot of transformation that's happened for myself, and I think for everyone on a whole level and on an individual level, that I've, as awful as it all has been and as uncomfortable and unsettling as it is to not know what the future even holds with this, there are silver linings that have shown their way through and they can't be ignored. So there's been important conversations I've had with loved ones and just um, self work that I've had to do and taking care of myself in better ways than I ever have before that's needed to be done. And so I'm doing well. I
Good.
think I made it out. Well, I don't know if we're out yet, but I think I made it here, and I'm
Yeah,
glad with where we are now.
yeah. I mean, I hear you on the whole going through your shit thing on this, like through this 4 months I've been through
Hmm.
hell and back, and it's been like it's crazy because like I knew I put two and two together early on, and that this was going to be something that was going to change the way things were done, and then change the way that um business was done, and change the way that like people live their lives. I know I'm not like saying I predicted it because I didn't, but like to me the signs were there early on, and like this was something that like on the other end was going to be different regardless, just because it was I mean whatever was going on before, and this was just like that, like Kobe died, like
Yeah,
we miss Kobe, but like as soon as
yeah.
that happened, it's just like, all right, this year's gonna suck, and then like it just literally actually sucked.
Wow, yeah.
But
And
yeah, I mean,
we're almost 6 months into we're 6 months into the year. Yeah, we're 6 months into the year.
yeah, and like it's a lot, and like going through that whole stuff, and there's people who I've been thinking the whole time is like there's people who kind of have just been sitting there by themselves and like probably not doing well, and like it makes me think about it made me think a lot overall the whole quarantine about like what I have, um kind of like not just like physically, like like a house and stuff like that. I mean, I don't have a house, but like my mom's house,
Yeah.
and in terms of just like what I have physically, emotionally, and like mentally, and just kind of like utilizing it, and like it made me think. It made me think about a lot of stuff, and like it made me think about basically the rest of my life, and like my life changed within the 4 month quarantine. I left the gym, got out of a relationship. It was just kind of like all of this happened at once, and it was all because I actually had the opportunity. Because like to me, the quarantine allowed us to step back if you used it right, step back and actually look at the rest of everything that was going on, and it actually forced people to like stop, because you can't you couldn't do anything, you were just sitting at home. So it was always about looking at everything and then being like, all right, what do I need to do to kind of level up? And that's, to me, that's, if you did it right, that's what you did. Um, and then if, you didn't, you kind of, I mean, there's a lot of ways to have done it right, but for me personally, it was, I need to check on these things in my life and see how can I improve them. And that's what I did. But it's just, it's crazy to look at like the beginning and then look at now and you're just like, oh shit, like, damn.
Especially too, and I mean, all ages, doesn't matter what age you are, this has affected every single person. I mean, from young kids to older people, so much. But especially both you and I are in a critical stage of life where we
Yeah.
are figuring it out, like really truly just starting our lives in many
Hmm.
ways. And it's been a blessing, but it's also been a growing pain at the
Oh,
same
definitely.
time.
Like I said, it's been crazy to kind of, for myself, and like to see the difference in my abilities and like my thinking process. Cause like, and not to keep bringing it up, but like I, in the past I mean, this is still new and raw since I left the gym, but like since I have, sometimes I'm like, I can't believe I fucking did that. Like, I can't believe I
Yeah,
actually did it. And like, just because I don't really have like a plan per se.
right.
Like, I don't have like I mean, I have stuff going for me and things like that, but like I didn't have like a specific like, all right, I'm gonna step in from there and to here. And like I don't know if I would have done that last year. I don't know if I would have done a lot of things that I did. And like this kind of forced me to take a step back and look and decide what I wanted my life to be like in like the future. And not to a point where I was like, I needed to know exactly what I was going to do, but it was like, am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Am I looking at things the right way? Am I doing things the right way? And a lot of those answers were no. So I had to adjust.
Yeah. I
But
think,
like, like I said, when I look back in 20 years, hopefully I make it another 20 years, but like, and
hopefully.
I see this kind of whole quarantine thing, like this is going to be kind of I think the people that come out of this are going to be, and do it the right way, are going to be a lot happier in their life.
Yeah, I feel like this past few months really has situated. It's caused people to be really situated in who they are. And like you said, it causes things to surface. I mean, oh my gosh, I've had conversations in the past 4 months that have had to happen probably in the past 4 years with
Exactly.
people, and things that were just so, and they naturally just came up with having time, having space, having time alone, set apart
Yep.
from each other. Naturally, things start to come up. And I think also, it's interesting to see the trajectory of my loneliness over the past 4 months too,
Yeah.
because in the beginning, I was so lonely. I mean, we went from seeing people all the time, and you know how it is, like seeing clients all the time, every single day. And that's so fulfilling to see people
Yeah.
and then to not see people. And I won't lie, for a couple of weeks, I was like, this is great. Like, I
Well, yeah.
love
I mean, well, that's the thing is like, for me, for you and myself, like dealing with people all the time, a couple of weeks, you're like, oh, great. Like,
Yeah.
gee, like I just need
Yeah.
like a break.
Need a
Some,
break.
it's not the people, but it's just like,
No, no.
like I don't think people understand how exhausting it is being
But yeah.
that spotlight in the room every single time people come in, because you
Yeah.
can't really have like a down day. Like you can't
Right.
walk into the room and be like, "Hey guys, like let's go." You know what I mean? Like you have to be able, you have to be excited, you have to make sure, because they're paying you for
Yeah.
that. They're not paying you to, you know, make them more tired. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No,
Like
exactly. Well, it's
so.
interesting too, because in the beginning, I was reaching out to everyone I knew. I mean, people I haven't talked to in years, I was reaching out to just to see how they were doing, and which was natural. I think it was almost like human instinct to like make sure we're all in this together, make sure everyone's
Yeah.
okay. I don't know what it was. It was just it got to a point where it was almost like survival mode
Mhm.
at certain parts. And then I feel like I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where I've really become situated in myself and
Yeah.
situated in, I don't want to say those who matter and those who don't, because everyone matters, but people who I want to be in my life on a very personal level, and people who I don't. And that's something and I'm sure you've maybe have had this happen to you before, is when you work with people so often and you have this desire to truly help people, you just let everyone in and everyone can come in and ask any questions. I'm not saying people can't ask me questions, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you invite everyone in as a friend. And I had no boundaries set with any of that at all. And I didn't realize how much havoc that was wreaking on me and my body and my mind to hold that space for so many people all of the time.
Yep.
And now I'm kind of on the opposite end where I'm like, wow, I feel, I have core people in my life. I have people who, I hold space for, but there are people who I don't feel like I need to always be the savior, if you will, or whatever word fits there. Um, because I didn't realize how much energy I was losing on a daily basis, putting myself in that position. And also too, and now I'm kind of getting to a whole different conversation, but um, it also turns into such a disservice for people when you are like, you know what, I'm going to help you and I'm going to be the one to save you. I'm going to be, because then it kind of turns into almost like this, if guru is the right word. Like you have this like
Yep.
guru of like, I'm higher, I'm better, I can help you, I can save you, when you really cannot. And that's been something actually my therapist told me at one point, because that's another thing. I started doing therapy during this, which has
You
been
just started?
so helpful. Yeah. So I did therapy when I was like a kid for years,
Okay.
and then I didn't do it for a few years. And then through this, I was like, you need a therapist. And
I've been doing it the whole time too. I mean, I've been doing it for a while
great.
now, over a year, but like, um, it's just like, I mean, I was gonna say one of the things I was gonna mention next was that like this really kind of opened up the door for how important it is to check in with yourself and like have that, because I don't, people, work is cool and like having a purpose is cool, and like, and I think work becomes the thing because it is so it is so important, and I say that with a take it with a grain of salt, because like, that's how people make their money.
Right.
um but it is so important that they make it their purpose in life.
Mhm.
And it's tough because, yeah, and like what does happen when you lose it, because I have family members who are going through it now. Like they did something for 60 years and they didn't have any exit plans. They didn't ever think about like, wait, what happens if one day I can't fucking work like an animal for the rest of my, and then like, then they go home and they just rot away. And like, there's just, looking at it is like I and touched it in with my, like, one of my favorite hobbies that I kind of stopped doing for a while, which was like baseball cards. And
Yeah.
like, I just like went and like, just kind of was just like, let's like, oh my God, I forgot how fun this was, because I had the time. And like, um, I was checking in with myself and making sure I was all right. And like, that led to a lot of things, but like people oftentimes use work as like the mask, and they're like, I have my purpose, I'm making money, I'm, and then you're like, peel back the mask and it's, Freddy Krueger. It's just like nothing else is there. And like, you're just, you're haunting your own dreams essentially. And, it's tough, but like this showed that like, if you don't deal with that stuff, when something like this does happen, it, it's not going to be easy, because like, if you don't have a purpose outside of it, if you don't have hobbies, you don't have things that you like to do that, don't like, it's just like, it's a weird thing that a lot of stuff got taken away and people had to slow down and stop. And I don't think a lot of them knew how to deal with that situation when it was brought to the forefront, and then they suffered from it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like I was right there for a little bit, for sure, and probably still am in some regards. And actually, too, it's funny you bring the thing about work up, because I actually got to a point, because there's no really boundaries with time when you're home,
Yeah.
working from home, sleeping. I mean, my office and my bedroom are literally the same room. And
Yeah.
so I'm sitting at my desk, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm skipping meals. I was noticing, I'd work until like 10 o'clock at night, which for me, that's way too late to be
Yeah.
working. And I started burning myself out. And I started noticing this pattern of, you're addicted to working.
Yeah.
And it's not a good, like, oh, I'm being productive. It's like, no, you are addicted to working and you don't rest. And that's just going to lead you down a rabbit hole. And that's, I've been working with my stress management. It's funny how all this happened, because right before all of this, like right before, I really started noticing all of this being shown to me in my own, like with my own health concerns and
Yeah.
mental health concerns, especially, were really manifesting. And then this kind of just like put it right over. Um, and dealing with stress is such a huge part of health that needs to be touched on, because we feel like our purpose in life is to just work, 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 work. And in many ways, yes, work is so important. Being financially free, I am really passionate about, but
That's what it comes down to, though. It's like
yeah,
people, they're so unfortunately attached to financial freedom because they put themselves in a position where they think money's going to solve the problem, and then they'll work their life away, and then like they just won't. Yeah, it sucks because like even I was at a point like you were. Like I remember a year and a half ago, I was being told consistently by one of our members, he's like, take a day off. And I was like, I don't need time off. Like, I don't need time. I'm not tired. I'm young. There, he was like, just take a day off. Like, I'm telling you, take a day, take a week, take a weekend. And I was like, I don't need it. I'm good. And then, like, it's just like you get to a point where you're like, I need, like, you don't want to get to a point where you need time off. You want to make sure that you're taking something or taking some time for yourself so that you
yeah,
never get sick of what you're doing. And, like, it's not, the environment in which you do things can affect what it is that you're doing. And it's not so much the thing itself. And for me, about a year and a half ago, I felt like, I didn't even know if I thought I was in like the wrong profession. And like, I wouldn't say to that degree.
mhm,
But like, I knew something was off in which I was going about what I was doing, and it didn't feel right. And I wasn't fulfilled. And like, there was days where I just didn't want to go in, and I just kind of forced myself. And I was like, I literally didn't have a choice. So I was like, I had to go in. But like, when you start putting yourself in a position where you don't take breaks, you don't have other things in your life, you don't have other outlets, and you don't put up boundaries, you're basically going to be a ball of stress
yeah,
until something makes you slow down, like you get sick or you like freak out, you have like a breakdown, or like, and that's not healthy, and that's not where you want to be, obviously. And you don't want to get sick or break down and not be able to handle yourself. And it gets to be a lot. And like I said, the biggest thing for me with this whole quarantine was, how do I look at that and kind of put it into perspective for myself and better understand myself. And then it led to where I am today, which is, scary, but something's good gonna happen from
yeah, no, and
it.
that too, I think it's so important to have that trust of, like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know I'm gonna be okay, and I think that all comes down to work ethic and values, and you're someone who's gonna work. I mean,
Yeah.
even myself, like, so I throughout when I was in school, um, throughout Ayurveda school, actually in college too, but throughout Ayurveda school specifically, I went back to my job that I worked at when I was in college as a waitress at a restaurant, Romo's by us in Glenmont.
Mhm.
And I remember almost being like, oh, I'm going back to my college job. Like, am I going backwards? Meanwhile, I'm sitting there and I'm having the time of my life. I love waitressing. Seriously, it's like so much fun to
I
me.
hate it.
But
Not for me.
but I loved it, and I kind of saw through that, and I'm getting somewhere here, but I saw through even that experience. I was like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're making your money. You're paying for your school. You're doing what you
Yeah.
have to do, and you're thankfully you like to do what you're doing. Whatever, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And then fast forward, now the restaurant actually. We were going to open and I was so excited. I was like, yes, I'm going back to like a job that I'm going into and not only online. And we opened for 2 days and then they decided to close down, rightfully so, because there's
Yeah.
just been so many pop-ups of stuff going on in the area, and their takeout side is incredible and it's doing so well and whatever.
Yeah.
So now I actually just told them yesterday, I was like, hey, I was like, if you guys need any help on the takeout side, I'm more than happy to help out and to
Mhm.
do that. And to me, I was like, oh my gosh, you're not even waitressing now, you're just going to, it almost took like
Yeah.
it was a pride thing of being like, you're going back to the job that you were doing so long ago. And I kind of got to a point where I was like, it doesn't matter. It does
Yeah.
not, it literally doesn't matter. And you know why? It's because I know my work ethic, and I know that it's just a stepping stone for what's to come. I don't know how long of a stepping stone, but it's just a stepping stone for what's to come, and it's fine. And, and no, like, that's one thing that this is a whole different conversation now, but if you're working and doing anything, I don't care what you do. Like,
Yeah.
whatever, just make your money, be a good person, and
Yeah.
what else is there to it? You know what I
No, it's true.
mean?
And like I was gonna say, one of the biggest things for me is that held me back for a while. Like I wanted to kind of like leave, and I didn't know, for me, I was like I own my own business, and like, what is the like that's anything is going to be a step down essentially, and like, I didn't know what was going to be next, and I kind of didn't have a clear vision of where I was going. Like, I would say about a year ago, and like this was something in my head, and I was like, I kind of do want to go explore and go try other things, but like I didn't know what that looked like. And I thought to myself, I was like, I can't take a step back like that. Like, I can't go get a part-time job. Like, that would suck. I can't imagine what I'd have to do if I had to get a part-time job. And like, now I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Like, maybe just to like
Oh,
fuck around for a little bit, get a part-time job, and like just keep building what I'm building, my online stuff, my personal training, and just kind of, grow and just see kind of where it takes me, instead of being so like structured and so hard and living by someone else's vision essentially. But yeah, that's spot on essentially.
yeah. And it's also too, like, and again, I'm bringing age into it, not that it even matters, but I think the majority of people our age really do feel the same way.
Yeah,
And especially, I mean, I know I have friends who are being laid off left and right because they're the new employees, and
yeah,
they're the newest ones and they don't really need them, whatever. And so there's so many more people than we think. And I think that it takes courage to, quote unquote, take that step back or go wherever you need to. It takes deep courage to do that, because it would be easier to be like, all right, well, I didn't do it and I'm just
just
gonna
stick it out and be unhappy for the next
yep,
5 years, and then you
yep,
never.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
And I
honestly, I thought for a while like this whole quarantine was going to be like an opportunity for people to either kind of like reset and refocus, or they're just going to like, this was their chance, and there wasn't really going to be another chance after that of like, do I want to reset my life essentially? Like, and I don't know, granted this is a really bad thing, but like maybe it's not such a bad thing where people got to stop and kind of, maybe get furloughed and maybe see what it's like to not have a job, and maybe get humbled a little bit, and maybe like
yeah,
see what it's like to not see your family, and see what it's like to be alone and be with yourself, and like force people to just want to get better, or get better essentially. Like, you're
yeah,
just gonna, like, at that point you're either gonna make yourself get better, or you're just gonna like slowly crumble. Like, there's really not, because of the extreme that we were put in for that length of time, it was either you're going to find a way to just make it work, or you're going to find a way to fall apart.
mhm,
And like, for me, it's important that people, I mean, it was, for me, I should say, it was important that I found a way to get better. And even though there was tough times, it's not like, I didn't, wasn't like I was just like, oh, I'm so happy this is happening the whole time. It's tough, but like, people, they just got to be positive that this was an opportunity. And I
right.
still think it is an opportunity, because nothing's, you know, done
Yeah,
yet. Like, there's nothing done. It's just people need to take advantage of it.
right. And it's always like just about moving the needle forward, like time
Yep.
by time. And like sometimes the needle moves forward slower than other times. And sometimes it feels like, all right, we're going backwards, but it's actually just a slingshot to go
Yeah.
forward,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. And I think just even being aware of that is huge.
Yeah. No, it's true. All right, let's talk about this certification. You finished it. You're all done.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
I saw, the offer you were having, or trying to get new clients. So kind of like talk about what it is exactly that you're doing, and kind
Yeah.
of go from there.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me yet, well, now you know me, you listen to a good chunk of this, but I am now an Ayurvedic health counselor. And so just to give you a little brief overview of what Ayurveda is, I am doing a 101 workshop soon. I also have like a 20-minute video explaining it. And if you can't find it for some reason, I'm more than happy to send it your way. But essentially, so Ayurveda, it comes from India. It's India's system of medicine, and it's actually known as being the oldest system of medicine, the most ancient system of medicine. And in short, it is a holistic science, a holistic health science that brings the body and the mind back to balance. That is literally what Ayurveda is always trying to do. It's working with the rhythms of nature to do that. It's working with taking care of ourselves, whether it's diet, lifestyle, digestion, whatever it is, in holistic ways. And so we use herbs, we use essential oils, we use meditation practices. I'm also a yoga teacher, if I didn't say that already. And so what I like to do is, so I do a couple things. I am an Ayurvedic health counselor. I am a yoga teacher, and then I also work for doTERRA. So I have a doTERRA business, and doTERRA is an essential oil company, and it's the largest essential oil company in the world. And what I do is I use my doTERRA oils within my sessions with my clients. And the reason that I do that is because the essential oils are so much more potent than herbs, which is usually traditionally what we would use, is the dried out version of herbs. And so I just like to, I think that they complement one another really well. And that's something that, as I was learning about all of the herbs in Ayurveda and all of the even essential oils that we're learning, I was like, oh my gosh, something clicked in my head of, oh, this connects all together so perfectly, the yoga, the oils, the Ayurveda. And so that's exactly what I'm doing, is I'm working with people, and some of the stuff, it's not, everyone is so individual. And that's also what I love about Ayurveda too, and alternative medicine really, is that you're working with everyone on an individual basis. So there might be someone who, I can make the argument that everyone will benefit from essential oils, but if there's someone that needs to work on something else in their life, I'm not going to shove essential oils
Yeah.
at you right away. But most of the time I do see that the essential oils are complementing whatever anyone is dealing with. And so I bring those two together, and I bring in the meditation, I bring in breathing practices and yoga, and it's been going really well. I see a vision for myself, and
Cool.
it's coming together. Yeah.
What does like a long-term vision look like for that? Is that like strictly online, or is that something like in-person counseling, or is that
Yeah.
like is that practice type thing, or?
Yeah. Yeah. So I would love to, and when I started my schooling, we weren't in the situation we are in now. Actually, my school, we did half of it in person and the other half. So I did my training at Kripalu in Massachusetts. Half of it was in person, and then half of it was online because of COVID-19. And we were not expecting that at all. But when I first started, I had the expectations of now starting to look at office spaces and looking into, renting an office and having a practice.
Okay.
And honestly, and that's still a dream that I would love to happen one day, just because I do think there is something to be said for seeing people in person, one-on-one, and having that community
Yeah.
aspect to it. But being forced to start this online and really kind of, online is here right away. I don't have to wait and put it off until I find an office.
Yep.
It's here. So it forced me into getting right into it and realizing, wait a second, I can do this online, and I can build a sustainable business online. So I'd like to do both. I'm coming out with soon. I'm working on a website, and
Okay.
it's Ayurveda Albany, and I'm hoping to be, based in the capital region, but serving beyond the capital region is kind
Yeah.
of my idea. And who knows if I'm going to stay in the area forever, but that's where we're starting, and that's where
Get out of New York.
I know.
Ah, cool,
We're gonna
cool.
see where it goes.
Cool, awesome. Now, what does um I guess what does the actual, so what is your main offer, and then what else do you have to kind of like
Yeah.
that you do within it?
Yeah. So right now, actually, I'm running an offer in July that is anyone who enrolls as a doTERRA customer with a certain amount. And this is all, if anyone is interested, I can talk to you one-on-one, or even have a phone conversation with you to help you understand this. But anyone who enrolls as a doTERRA customer under me will get a free Ayurvedic health consultation. And so that's kind of where I'm starting right now. When I first started, I was like, I want to do something to kind of give back to the people who are supporting me when I'm literally just starting
Yeah.
and jumping off of the trampoline here. So I was like, what can I do? And that felt like a really nice energy exchange. So basically, you buy essential oils and you get a free consultation for free. And then this month specifically, there's some other specials going on. I don't want to overcomplicate it, but there's some other specials going on as well that I'm offering. So that's pretty much that. And what a consultation is, because some people are like, wait, what is that? It's a 60-minute consultation. And basically what we do is I send you an intake form, and it's a pretty long intake form, because the whole idea with Ayurveda is we want to look at your past history. If you have your family medical history, that's even better to really understand where the root of whatever symptoms you're dealing with are coming from, so we can work on healing it. And from there, we have literally the first consultation. It takes 60 minutes just to go over the intake form, because I'm asking you specific questions about your digestion and specific questions about, your whatever symptoms you might be dealing with, and really working on getting at the root cause. And then from there, I follow through with some recommendations and see where that lands.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm excited.
So, is that, if people want to do that, they can just reach out to you, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you could just reach out to me, message me. And like I said, I've been doing a bunch of, I totally understand that this is also like people understand that it has something to do with health. They understand it has to do with holistic health. Also, I do want to make the disclaimer, this is not in any way, like, I'm not against modern medicine. I'm not, if you are, taking medicine or whatever, it's not a way to be like, get off of your medication and use these herbs. It's,
Yeah.
I believe that on the forefront, to look at holistic ways of healing is really important. And of course, if modern solutions have to be invited in, of course, like I've been on modern medication my whole life, and I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable that that's like the goal here.
So you're saying you hate vaccines? No, I'm joking. No, but yeah, no, I get it. And like, that's, that's cool. I think the biggest thing about, um, offering a service like this and what you've learned is essentially, and I think this is how the world's starting to work, is people are starting to realize, wait, like, people are different. Like, they don't need the same thing. They shouldn't be getting the same thing. It doesn't make sense to give someone a counseling session. Like, you wouldn't ask me the same questions off my health history that you would ask, my grandpa or my grandma. Like, this, it just doesn't make sense. And I think people are starting to realize that, and they're starting to really hit home on the individualized thing and the individualized stuff. And it's going to make a difference, and people are becoming more and more aware and more, I don't know what the right word is, but specialized, and they're better understanding certain aspects of health and fitness. And like, it's leading into something bigger and better, and more accessible too. Like, I can't imagine that you're offering a service that's not, in depth with what you're talking about, and like, to have that just kind of available is really cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's the same thing with fitness. And like, right now this is the weirdest time to be in fitness, because, and like, or wellness, or health and wellness, because there's so many back and forths about what is right, what is wrong. And then in fitness, there's, you know, it's such a weird thing, because to me, fitness could help fix a lot of these problems. And, probably the stuff you're doing could help fix a lot of the problems. And like, um, it's just about understanding that this stuff is really important. And then this is when people usually tend to let that stuff go the most, when there is a problem, when there is a life problem, when there is a pandemic, and they're like, oh, I'm sitting home, so I'm just going to stop doing everything that's good for me, like working out, eating right, sleeping, you know what I mean? And like, this is the time when you kind of need to actually hone in and be like, all right, I need to work out today, because this is not only going to help me physically, it's going to help me mentally. I need to go talk to a health counselor. I need to go talk to a therapist, because otherwise I'm going to go crazy in my room, and I'm going to,
Yeah.
end up, I don't even know, just going crazy, scribbling your
Yeah.
walls and like with lines
Yeah.
each day.
Well, even too, I mean, all of that, including the mental health aspect of taking care of your mental health, that boosts your immune system.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel very passionate about, is not being talked about enough. And which in our situation right now is, we need to be talking about boosting the immune system. And it's especially considering we've been in our house, most of us are isolating, which we're supposed to be doing. I'm not saying
Mhm.
not to, but we're isolating ourselves away from people, which actually is the way that we usually boost our immunity,
Yeah.
is being around people, and being in places and going outdoors and getting fresh air and all this stuff. All of that boosts the immune system. And so I think that's so important to be focusing on right now too. And that's through working out, that's through getting fresh air, that's through having a positive, or healthy mindset, and managing stress. Because I mean, stress, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on just stress, and maybe we will one day, but
Yeah.
stress especially can break down your immune system so fast. And I mean, I see it for myself. I get stressed out and I lose weight like crazy, and it
Yeah.
doesn't even make sense, because I'll try to, if I intentionally try to lose weight, it'll come off slowly, but
Yeah.
then add a really stressful situation and it's dropping pounds. And it's like, that's not supposed to happen. That's
Yeah,
not.
I mean, specifically speaking for myself, the last couple of weeks, I've been, to say stressed out of my mind was an understatement. And like, I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping well. Um, and I was like dropping weight. I was like, my arms look good, but like I feel like shit. So
Yeah,
like
I know.
it's not like, it's not great. And then, as I kind of like fix things in the last couple of days, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. But like it's just, you feel it, man. Like when you're stressed and like you're not sleeping and you're not eating and you're just waking up and you're like, oh my God, like I feel like shit. And then you just like, it's crazy. And like I said, I've said this before, but people have to get better at actually dealing with stress, and they don't. And like that's the biggest thing. But these things are to help. Fitness is to help. Your counseling is to help and like better deal and cope with that stuff. But it's oftentimes looked at as a negative when you have stress in your life, and stress is going to happen regardless. It's just about how prepared are you to actually deal with it and then handle it. And like if you're not prepared for it, then it's time to get prepared for it. So yeah, I mean, any last second comments on that stuff?
No,
Like,
I think that's good. Well, speaking of immune system, I am doing an immunity class of how to boost your immune system on August 12th at 7
okay,
p.m. So if that's something anyone is interested in, it's just a Zoom link. It's free. So feel free to come to it. And I'm hoping, since it's free, everyone will show up and learn how to boost their immunity.
yeah,
Because
cool,
it's really important, especially if you have kids at home and, it's really important for them to boost their immunity, especially if they're not interacting with people right now.
yeah, cool. That's awesome. And are you going to post that somewhere, or can
Yeah,
you
it'll
send
be
that
posted.
link
That
so
was
I
the first
can?
time I announced it, but it'll be
All right, cool.
posted.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to dive off that, I am going to as well be having a at-home workout seminar. Mine is not free, but I'm going to be giving you some pretty cool stuff in there. I'm going to be working with you guys on how to make at-home workouts. I forgot the exact date, but I will put it out there. I'm getting everything set up for that. We got some cool people here doing some cool stuff, so check it out. I know mine's not free, but whatever, just check it out.
Everything can't be free, or
Yeah.
not everything can be free.
No, but I'll post the link for Sabrina's. I'll put it on my Facebook or my Facebook, my Instagram, and then check that out as well. If you guys have any questions for her, you can reach out to her at Sabrina. Hold on, I can put the link, but you can your Instagram and all that stuff. You want to
Yeah, yeah.
say it again?
Sabrina Boniauto.
Okay, cool. And then I'll post that below, and then Facebook is the same thing. And yeah, so this is awesome once again.
Yeah.
We'll have to plan something else to talk again, and then August 12th I'll have to check out the immune system. But yeah, thank you guys for checking in. Hope you guys are staying safe. If you guys have any questions for me, as always, reach out, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
Bye.